Okay, so greetings everyone. Now we will be talking today about the BTA lab preparation. So without wasting time, directly we'll understand the remix ID at first. What are all the features does it has, and nextly we'll talking about the basic Solidity coding. And there also we also come across something like the lab programs which were taught. Thought nahi. The thing is like lab programs which we were working on in lab, and also the preparations for the write up what we have. So let's learn each of it. The main thing which we want is the write up thing tomorrow. So if we are good at that, then other thing will be taken care by ChatGPT. Let's start with that each. So firstly, let's understand the remix ID here. uh, Basically start with always a blank project and give some name as I'll just give it demo. Yeah, so now we got a blank project, and let's just understand the basic coding thing. I'll just create a sum of n natural numbers at the first case. Okay, let's understand the whole scenario here. Wait, so this is about the file explorer where we will be having all those files, and using this workspace we are creating a workspace to bifurcate all those projects which we are working on. And on the left hand side we also have the search files. The basic we will be working on the compilers and the deploy thing. The compiler is used to compile the code, and deploy it's used to deploy the same way as USL answer I'm telling it. Okay, leave it. So the thing which we'll be talking is let's create a sample program here. Sample like let me say sum of n natural numbers, sum of n dot sol. So if we are creating this, just write pragma. The first thing we need to write pragma. Obviously we'll get all the code here, and then at we have to mention the version name. We can mention the version name as 0.8.0. It's like a common version name. These two lines are mandatory, and for the write up these two lines are very much needed. Oh, so finally we get the code there directly itself. But better not, it's not a good practice to write this. Let's start without of having. Okay, let's understand this as they only gave the code. Let's understand this. So the basically what we are doing here is we are just incrementing the count values, so we don't have to follow this. Let's code it. So contract is basically it's the class name, and then we it's nothing but we are how we call it as class, the same way we call it as contract, and then the sum of n is the class name. And whenever we call using these objects, this we obviously it will be called. Let's understand it. If we have to declare any of those variables, the syntax is as it is only giving. So we have to say the data name, that is what we call it as data type, and then we have the access specifier, and then we come across the variable name. I will just show you the thing: data type, access specifier name, access specifier, and the variable name. So when you just declare these things, the variable is declared. And then when we talk about the function, it also has the thing of telling function. Having the next part, you will be telling the function name. Here sum of, always remember the class name and the function name should not be the same, it will be a conflict. And then the sum of, what you will be telling is about the values. So inside you have to declare a variable. So the same way other programming languages which we were using, we will be taking the input n, that's okay, and next outside what type of function it is, whether it is a public function or a private function. And even we have other keywords like view only to read it. If I write only view here, it is only for reading it, and now I don't want to view it, we have to manipulate some values inside, right? So I'll write as public, and then I'll just public, and I have to return a value like sum of n natural numbers. I'll just write returns, and what type of value I have to return, as I told uint of public, I'll just say uint itself. And I can even specify a variable like I can have to return something like this. And after telling all those, now the value, obviously every time it tells, the logic is not so much important here. And every time, okay, the n into n plus 1 divided by 2 is enough. And return result is enough. Result. So what is the other thing? What we have the code error? We'll just, if we get any error, just we need to just hold a thing, and you can see expected as semicolon things Python. Okay. Oh yeah, इसका काम. Sum of n natural numbers is simple way. Just we have to implement the logic. The main thing we have read here is, or we have come across, is the declaration of variable and declaration of the function. We need to know this for write up. That is the main thing. So if we know this for the write up, it's well and good. We can aram say write the class name, that is nothing but contract, a sum of n, the class name, and having those variable and variable names, and telling its access specifier. Always remember the thing of having, if you know the syntax, you can write the write up aram say, and inside that the logic thing, you know, reessays and any other concepts aram say, you can write those logic in it. We'll just compile it at once. Compile of some, yeah, compile is done, and then we'll go deploy. So always remember the steps is nothing but you have to place a value and just press compile at first, and then go to deploy, and there you have to see at the first, for this there is no other changes, directly you can deploy it. You can see the deploy is successful. You can see the deployed contracts below, and you can arams tell which value till sum you have to do. Just press 5, and first you have to call this function sum of function. If it is done successfully, you can see the result here has to be 15. Simple. So this is a basic understanding of the program. There are some other keywords also, like if you are returning some of those values, you can use memory keyword. Why do we need a memory is nothing but, I'll just tell you here. See, so memory is temporarily only exists during the function execution. So basically, if you want to store some values and you have to use it for further later use, you can use this memory, where it does not store the variable permanently on the blockchain, but instead it creates a temporary copy in the memory. So it's a basic as such. So the mainly for the first video will be only focusing on the memory keyword and not the other keywords. And also let's implement another very simple program about odd or even as such. Why is this? Because even though we know all those like keywords, let's learn about the memory keyword and the required keyword in this case. I'll just create a new file of having odd or even solve, and then just the main step you have to do, pragma. You write pragma, it's enough, and then we will press tab, we'll get the whole thing, and just 0.04. And now we have to write the contract as what I have told, it's a class name, and then we will be talking about what the other thing is, odd or even. So odd or even is done, and then tab. Okay. Yeah, obviously every time it gives the code, and this time we have to learn about the two keywords which I told, right? So let's understand those keywords at first, and then we will move on to that. So okay, let's correct in this itself. The function having the even odd of having uint of underscore num and public view returns, everything is good. As we have learned, the function name is at the first, and so the function keyword is at the first, and then the function name, and then we come across the, or we call it as our okay, the data type and its variable name and the public. Why only view is nothing but we are not modifying anything, we are just checking whether the given number is odd or even, so it's in the readable mode. And then returns and string of having memory, the keyword which I told in the previous not the thing is like, as I told, it is only for use for the temporary thing. And now we'll learn about this. Now instead of if, we can aram se write it as require, just write require, and the condition, it's the number should be number modulus of 10, we can say number modulus of 2 equals to 0 over number must be even, we can say number is odd. So we are checking the false condition here, If it's even, it returns an even, else it returns an number is odd. So how does the require keyword work? We'll be having a condition here, and it's like a boolean condition. If that thing is true, the below code will be executed. If not, the statement whatever, like it is not valid or so and so, commands will be executed and comes out of the function. This is the basic working of the require, and this is not needed, I guess. Let's see. So it's a simple way, we are just implementing this, and what happens here, if there is an error, just place the value. Did you mean underscore num? Yes, I meant just a warning. Let's compile it, deploy it, just deploy it, and then we come across the data having the value 5. It tells error occurred, number is odd, that's what we wanted. Let's see, it's 4 even. Yeah, it's even, simple. So what we learnt about it is require keyword and the memory keyword, and if this persists and sir wants to do it in a different way, just do whatever it tells is telling is pure over, simple as such. Go to compile it, and go to deploy it, come back. Not this case because it's already deployed, and now again deploy it, and we come across the value of having, which one you have to check? 4. Yeah, it's even. And next minus 5, sorry, 9 is 9, so number is odd. Cool. So this is all about the first case of understanding the whole concepts about what we learned now. The only thing about class declaration, function declaration, variable declaration, this is all needed for the write up thing. Let's understand something at depth of next level, that is lab 2 programs. The lab 2 programs having the balance manager and so things. Let's understand each of it, which is much more like a very good scenario. So let's see the second lab exercise 3. That is Solidity program as such of creating a mapping address and doing some update balance, check balance of it, for example, and also it should be mapped to the address of it. So here the concept of address comes in. So if any questions asked about the address, we can do this. Let's understand the new thing is here is the address concept. Let's see the address concept. Create new file. Let's run it as balance manager dot solve, and we know the first thing is pragma, and I know only this thing is 0, and now we have to create a contract named as balance manager, and we can create this ball manager over here. Okay, balance manager. And now when we are writing a balance manager, it gives many other concepts we just don't want. The main concept we have to learn is the mapping concept. So mapping, why do we use mapping? It's for the mapping the dictionary type of values having key value pairs, and now we will be mapping every address should have its own amount. So we can see the problem statement. At first we have to understand the problem statement. He wants to create a mapping of every other address should be having an account of it, like he should have a balance of it. So create a function of having update balance, and this update balance will take one argument of having uint type, and the function will update the balance of the address who is called with that of having balance. So we will mention the balance, like you have to keep around 100, and that will be updated. And next we have the check balance. There also we are checking the balance of it. How we are checking it? We'll check whether the address type is of the same address which we are passing as an argument. If both also tallies, then we have to return yes, it's the same as their account and its balance is so and so. If it not, you have to tell you're not the owner, and to tell let's implement. So mapping, and then we have to open a curly, means like round braces, and we have to tell address, and it gives everything address of having uint, and it depends upon uint. Yeah, we have to tell 256 because we have to close this and tell this is of belonging to a public balance. Yeah, everything the soil remix gives, that's no problem. But the thing which we need to thing is about only the write up. So what we have to do, the write up, if the mapping keyword is used, directly implement at the first and tell it's a key value pairs. If he questions about it, can tell. The declaration type how we are doing for the key value pairs is mapping is the keyword as we use for the function, and other data types what we use. Always if what we have to perform will be at the first, like if we have to perform function will be at the first. If we have to declare a variable, the data type will be at the first. And now we have the mapping is at the first, and then we have declared inside the address, and all this is pointing towards uint of 256. And then we have an access specifier public and pointing towards the variable name, that is the balances. And now we have to declare the function. What we know, the function has to be what function, what is the function name? Update balance. And inside we have to take, we have told in the question itself, we have to take uint of 256. So at the function of having update balance, he has told in the question, right, uint of 256, right, the uint of 256. And inside that what we are taking in, we are taking it only the amount of whatever the case amount will take. And what type of function is this? We need to have this in the public. Better to declare it in public. Why to pay some consequences? Okay, public. And public, whether it is a view type or something, we are modifying it, so leave it as it is. And whether we are returning anything, no, because we are just having to update the balance. And then how do you update those balance? Simple way, you have to tell, we don't have to write so and so, just have to tell update balance in that address. So balances, as we have seen in other cases, balances of which one, the message dot sender, whoever the sender who calls this, plus of equals of amount, will not be plus or equals anything in this case. Just say if it is in the zeros case, it will be increment. And the next part, the function of what we need is the simple way, function of get balance, public view, everything is given. So public view of only view is needed in returns of everything. And the main thing, if it is not an owner, that is very important. And this should not be in a public way, we have to declare it in private, because we have told the owner only should do this job. Like owner only should check his balance and no other people. So we can tell here the require keyword we have already learned, right? So require का spelling with color, require, and require में inside will be just writing the message or sender of address, everything is given. But you might also question, how can we write this in write up? Need to understand the message dot sender should be equals to the user, and we have to take inside the value of it, address of having underscore of user, whatever the address, we will be specifying the address in the function there. And that address, the message dot sender is equals to a user. If the message of sender is equals to a user, only for the same address, could not be only for the owner. So, and return balance, only if it's like that, I have to return the balance, or else yeah, that's true. So you have to write, as it's a keyword balance, you have to tell the specific thing. So it's a key value pair, right? So what happened here? Balances, okay, so everything is set now. Okay, cool. So now we can directly go with that of balance of manager, compile the code. So the basic thing what we learned in this is the mapping concept. So compile, whether it is compiling or not. Yeah, it's compiling, we cannot check that here. Delete all those deploy things and deploy it at once. Yeah, we got the thing. And we can specify how much amount we can increment, and see the address now which we are working on, 0.5v3. okay, 0.5v3 is where we are working on. And now we can update the balance here in this case. So we can tell 0.53 is updating the balance. Now we have to get the balance, just we have to need to copy here, copy, and next we have to place it here, get balance. Got the balance here as 100. And let's check with that of other cases, copy the account, come back to the original. No problem if you don't come back also, but we will be specifying another address, right? It has to scold us that only the owner address should be there. Simple. Cool. Okay, the next part of having from file explorer. Let's start with that of the next question, which was in the word thing, where the next question is. Okay, write a Solidity program for the retail inventory, where we'll declare a dynamic array and add the stocks of some products to it. Okay, create the function that searches for a particular product in an array, and if the product is found, returns the available stocks of the product. So this is a bit of like we need to create an array and we have to assign it to a product, then it should be a mapping, right? But still will not make it much complex. Let's make it an array and call those stocks itself. When we are searching, we'll tell the stock like if it's 23, we just say 23. If it is found, yes, it's found. It's not. Create a function that sorts the products as per the available stocks. Okay, it's very simple. Okay, let's start with that of having coding this. Let's create a file telling it's about what stocks, right? Stocks dot sol, or telling about retail. Okay, stocks dot sol. And now the first thing, only thing I know is this 0 cool. And now the next part, we can do this in a simple way of having the I don't want all those. I'll just say contracts retail. This is enough. Contracts of retail is good. And now we have to create firstly what he has told us, create a dynamic array. So dynamic array, I don't know how to create, just create a normally array now. 256 of having the array name we can take it off stocks, right? And what type of should be, it should be public, enough I guess. And the next part, what we can do here is, don't want these and all, and we have to declare the next part is function of what we'll be doing using the stocks. We'll be using to add those stocks, right? The function you have to what we have told here, dynamic array. Okay, add the stocks to some of the product. The function to searches a particular product in array, add some stocks, right? Add stocks, and in that add stocks I'll just declare one function, that is what having the value uint of so and so, and I'll just say taking an input value n as such, and then I'll just say it's a public thing, and I'll use it. I'll not return anything, right? Just say add stocks, yeah. And then you have to push it. So you have to, how do you push that in an array of having stocks? So array, you have told it, you have to declare it. So how do you declare an array? So uint of here and then stocks. Function of add stocks of having uint, so having n public so and so, it's good. And now we have to declare a function of add stocks, and the whole thing stocks of push of one. Every time we will be declaring only, taking only one variable, right? So directly we can write stocks dot push, and what we have to push, the value which we want, that's all. Semicolon is mandatory, so push the whole way. The next part, uint of I equals 0 and I is less than stock length and I plus plus, and if the same thing, this is all the logic thing, we can write it. The write up thing, you need to know a basic knowledge of it, it's enough. You can convince her because there is no right. Available stocks is good. And next so okay, let's start with that of compilation. And I have fixed the errors of contracts I have written, and also here returns was not there. And let me compile this. The compilation is good. It's just a warning. It's of having uint of unused local variable. Further, it is not used. It seems okay. We can remove this, no problem. Let's compile the stocks and then good. Okay, let's deploy this, and we have got the retail now. Let's add some stocks to this. 66 add stocks, yes, good. Let's add 90 to this, yeah, and let's add some 45 to this, yes. Let us check the availability of the stocks, like just now added 45. Let's see, yeah, it's available. Let's see some which is not available. Yeah, it's not available. Let's see the descending order of the sorted thing. 90, 66 and 45, good. uh, as the way we added the stock, what was the second stock we added? Let's see, as 45. That is 0 1 2. It start with the 0 8 index, yeah, 45. Cool, well and good, it's working now. The thing is, like, what we learned from this code is basically the new concepts is array declaration, yeah, usage of array here. And secondly, we learnt about traversing an array, and everything is the same as what we do in other programming languages. And returning the type of an array and using memory for the array thing. Any other new concepts which we learnt here is the descending order logic is for insertion sort is nothing else. Yeah, so pushing a single element inside an array, it works like a stack order. It's just stocks dot push is enough. And if you are declaring the whole array here itself, we can take the for loop and push it all at once. Okay, so this was working on the retail manager. Let's do another program about the student thing, which was like, let's see the whole next part. Solidity program, create a structure of student consisting of its ID, name, age, score of 3 subjects, and create a function having the create student record, retrieve all so and so with use unique IDs. And then so the main concept is all about it's revolving around its unique ID. So have to record all the means you have to retrieve the records using its ID, and then function to compute the class average. Okay, let's work on this, Aram say. So let's create a new file of having student.so student.sol. Okay, and let's create the pragma. So let's see the direct code itself, we already coded it. Pragma, the whole thing is the same thing, but the main concept revolves around this the student records of having using structure here. So structure we have used, and we have used declare the same way, or the any other programming language the same way we have used, and will not be ending by a semicolon here. That is the main thing. And then mapping is used here. The mapping where with the previously in the balance manager we were checking about the address we were mapping towards any of those values. Here the ID will be mapped towards each and every other case, like ID, name, age, all will be retrieved using this ID. And we are making this private because an ID belongs to a particular student, and it only belongs to him. And further, when you talk about unit of public of student and count, it's for the counting number of students are there in the class for the later purpose of calculating average. And now when we talk about the create student, and let's start with that of having the whole declaration is so and so, where the main thing you need to know is what we are giving an input, we are specifying here what we need as an output. We doesn't need any output here, we just have to see it as like only have to input those values. And the next, when we come across the get student, we need here to check the require condition here. We need to know how this works. This is very important. Why? Because when you are using a structure, the initial values always will be equals to 0, and we are checking the same thing here. At the first case, when you are doing with that of create student, we will be seeing there whether the given value is equals to 0 itself, then the student ID, like if it is 0 equals to 0, then we'll move into the below code. If it is not equal to 0, student ID already exists, will return. In the same way, the require is about the ID of having ID is not equal to 0. Here we have to get the student which already exists here. When it is equals to 0, we have to tell student not found. When it's not equal to 0, the below code will be executed. And the next part, when we talk about the average of it, we have already taken the count of here, and we will be doing the summation, passing the for loop on the whole thing. And then we will be see here the student, the whole summation will be taken into account of total scores of j, and then we will be taking average of it by total scores of j divided by student of count, and we will be returning this average. Simple. Now we'll be just compile this code students of, so that's good. and let's go to deploy of it. So deploy of student is done. Let's create student with that of when you're having this, just drop down this and input those values. Tab and name is Ganesh, and then tab we come across age is around 23, and his scores are, we have to express this in array form, so just declare a list of it, and 67, 78, 90, close this and transact. It's done. And now we can get the student with his ID. Yeah, we are getting Ganesh and so and so. We get any other values, it's just speaks like student not found, and we have to tell the class average here, and as there is only one student, let's input another two, and can do Ramesh, and then 24. Any other values you can give it, like okay, transact is done, and get student 2, we'll get Ramesh now, and now we can see the class average on the whole, both of those, and then student count aram se we get 2. So this is all the, so the basically what we have learned, the new thing is about declaring a structure here, and then using the mapping of having IDs here, and the other new things is traversing over the values and keeping a count variable in public and accessing the whole way all through all the functions inside it. And this was a new thing, and this all about a logical concepts. The basic concepts about here about the programming in Solidity is very simple now. And the one more thing we need to know, the other two cases, that of crowdfunding thing, and another one was what was the question here, crypto wallet application and crowdsource funding. We have to learn this. I'll do this in the next video. Thank you.